Maria Hill is dead. Taskmaster's on the run. And it's up to us four to figure out who actually did it on today's episode of Fake Nerd Book Club. Welcome back, guys. Fake Nerd Podcast Book Club, whatever the hell the show is called. I'm Ryan Leopoulos. I'm joined with my best buds to talk about a new comic book that came out during the pandemic that nobody read because it came out during the pandemic. And I got Sparks Vitti with me here.
Happy to be here. Happy for some Taskmaster.
I got Ben Magna with me.
Okay, so we have a pool going on who actually did it, and right now Deadpool is highest, but right at the moment Taskmaster has the lowest odds. But who knows? The dark horse right now is Ant-Man for some reason. That's weird.
Hey, Ant-Man. There's a bad Ant-Man. His name's Black Ant. So good memory, Ben. That's a good answer.
There's another bad Ant-Man. His name's Hank Pym.
Oh, that's his wife. What's up, Brandon T. McClure?
I think Hyperion did it.
Oh, Hyperion. Yeah, he's got that Republican Superman angle going for him. So he definitely seems like the vibe.
I think he finally snapped.
He finally snapped. Yeah.
Before we really dig in, can I just say that I think it was really rood of you to just make us all upset about the Black Widow movie all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am so glad I'm not the only one who thought that.
Hey, here's the thing, y'all. I've been a Taskmaster fan since I can remember, and he is the best Marvel B-list villain of all time. Anytime he is not just one of the best, he is a fan favorite of writers because he is extremely malleable. He can be as funny or as serious as you want, and he is the greatest combatant in the Marvel universe if you want him to be, just because of what his powers are. So again, I love this character, and the fact that the representation we got for all time on live action is a guy who doesn't really talk a lot. It's a problem. That's why I do think in the Thunderbolts movie it will be a course correction and it will be more towards the character, hopefully. But we're not talking about Black Widow.
We're gonna do a Mandarin. I thought the Taskmaster. This is the Taskmaster.
I'm the Taskmaster. Absolutely, yeah. Tony Masters, brilliant ex-Shield agent turned just complete douchebag. We are talking about Taskmaster, the Rubicon Trigger, and I got the creative team right here. It is written by Jed MacKay. We have beautiful art by Alessandro Vitti with colors by Guru EFX. This one was lettered by Joe Caramagna, and this one was edited beautifully by Sarah Brunstad. Now, I'm a Jed MacKay super stan. This dude has risen up in the last couple of years as one of my favorite writers. He's doing Moon Knight right now. He did Doctor Strange. He's writing Avengers right now, an excellent, fun new Avengers run. But Taskmaster, again, this came out in 2020, so this was not a good year for comic books, unfortunately. But it was a good year for quality comic books because, y'all, I'm not going to say this book isn't it's not like 20th Century Men. You're going to be thinking about it the rest of your life, but it's just a damn fun comic book, boy. There's nothing more fun than seeing Tony Masters answering his phone call to Dolly Parton 9 to 5 when he's on a golf course getting chased by Black Widow. Man, that's like a movie. I love it. I think it's a ton of fun. Again, anytime Taskmaster shows up, I am on board for it because, again, I just gravitate towards the smaller, more fun characters. What did you guys think of the Rubicon Trigger?
Yeah, I really liked it. I thought I had a really good time with this one. I also seem to recall liking the last Taskmaster book that we read that you put up also.
We all enjoyed that. I recently listened to it, so I'll say for reference that we all enjoyed it, and you can listen to it right now on the archive.
Perfectly timed archive, actually, absolutely.
Is it written by the same guy?
No,
you know?
That one came out a decade ago. It was a different writer.
Yeah, I was reading it and I had a lot of fun with this one. I think Taskmaster is a really fun character that can be that can be written in a really interesting way. That I think Jed MacKay does. He writes some really good kind of comedy with Taskmaster, and one of the things that I really liked was the action sequences when you're seeing Taskmaster go through all the moves he's adapted over the years. And he doesn't know the names of certain there's one page where he doesn't know the name of them, so he's like, that one kick I saw Shang-Chi do once.
Yeah. That one punch, that one throw Captain America did.
That page that I've seen go around on Twitter before, I was like, oh, there it is.
There it is. I get it.
Yeah. That's the page.
Yep.
But I thought this was a lot of fun. Great pick. And it was really cool because I was reading Avengers at this point, right? I Coulson being the director of the Squadron Supreme and why is he alive and shit like that. All that's from Avengers, and so that was kind of cool to see.
Yeah. And there's some Secret Empire references too, which is another book club that we did a couple years ago that's hitting the rotations now. So this felt like a really almost relevant book club for us. Mr. Ben, what did you What did you both
Well,
say? Sorry.
the only thing I was going to say before Ben goes, just in response to what you were saying about Secret Empires, one of the things I like about the book is that it makes, because you'll know in the archive, we were all very positive on Secret Empire. We thought that event was actually really beaten by the bad press around just the Hydra Cap narrative, which had nothing to do with what the story was actually about. And we really enjoyed it, and so seeing like ramification fallout stuff still mentioned, especially like to the degree of Tony Masters being like, she was dead, like Captain America killed her.
Black Widow,
like she's here, so I don't know. And
it's all canon.
That, and like people them still wanting him for what he did during that time period, and he's like, look, I was like on the lowest rung. Like hardly mattered, like that shit's too much.
That was a different period in my life,
and I think that like just having the fallout kind of stuff of that is just it's a fun way to play with it.
Absolutely.
Ben, go ahead.
Oh, I'm just glad to read another great Taskmaster book, because I know we read the previous one, and we're not here to talk about Black Widow, but this book made me mad at Black Widow again.
Well, she's also in it, which is lovely.
Yeah, she is, but because reading this, and with the very little interactions with Taskmaster I had before even doing this podcast, Taskmaster's fun. Like, he's a very fun character, and this book extenuates that. Like, obviously the fact that he can copy, he's like a perfect mimicker, and he just needs to see someone do something once and he got it, and he like has it down pat. Like, that punch I saw that one dude throw, or that kick that. It's just great. It's just a fun, enjoyable ride, and while I was wanting Taskmaster to succeed, it's also well written that I want to know what happened, who would frame Taskmaster, what is going on, what's the bigger picture.
It's a fun spy thriller.
I clocked it pretty early that Maria Hill wasn't actually dead.
I was gonna say, they're pretty much like the moment that Fury was in the car and said Maria Hill was killed, I'm like, nah.
No.
See, that's the thing. Like, we in a separate podcast, we recently talked about death in comics, and like the first page of this comic is showing that Maria Hill died. I'm like, all right, she's a spy. This doesn't actually happen. There is no way that we're starting this mini series by killing off a major Marvel character. Like, what is a secret invasion? We aren't doing that. So like, I wasn't too worried. And then it'd be a whole ruse of, no, actually, I killed myself to get Nick Fury, to get you, because I know he's a Rube and you're a Rube and you're all a Rubes. And I'm like, oh my God, it's a rhubarb salad up in here. I love it.
Which also had the added bonus of making me mad about Secret Invasion all over again. Because of, again, like that recent Secret Invasion comic that Ben picked out, which was really good. And then this, and I'm like, man, Maria Hill
is awesome.
I want to say this, and I want to be off the topic of the MCU, but I want to say this. It's been recent years, as we've kind of gone into phase 4 and 5, where I've really started to be like, no, I get why some comic book fans hate the MCU. I get it.
Yeah. There's some character adaptation stuff where, like, Tony Masters is a great example, where it's like the source material is so rich.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you guys another one, because we got an archive coming up in the near future about Thanos comics.
Oh yeah.
And when we read a bunch of Thanos comics, it's not too near, but it's down the road.
I love him.
Thanos, also a super rich character who, like, I like those movies. I still don't think they did him justice.
Yo, let him have sex with a skeleton lady. Don't be cowards.
So it's fairly, like, there's so much good material on the page sometimes, and the fact that, like, sometimes none of it will make it over in translation is a little frustrating, especially with a character like Taskmaster.
It's interesting what characters they decide to, because I think a lot of our heroes, they come out really, really good. But I think some of the villains sometimes can really falter. And
villains and side characters, and it's like this lack of investment, and it's one of the things that I felt like I hoped, and I'm still kind of hoping, that the Disney Plus era could change, because you have more legroom for exploration of villain characters that I think we kind of all agree that one of the bigger problems with the MCU is that, like, almost every villain character dies in a single outing.
Keep them going.
And like, or like close to a single outing, and like that's when you don't get more development with them. So you got to pack everything in a single movie. Of course, they're not going to pack everything that's in these rich textual pages into that. And Black Widow, being the example that it is, Taskmaster doesn't die in that movie. So I'm all the more like, we could have.
It's so interesting to see that, like, the characters, especially the villains, like Thanos was changed because the Russo brothers and Marcus McFeely didn't feel like the angle that they did in the comics was engaging enough. So that was an active decision to change his motivation in those films. Whereas Taskmaster seems to have just been negligent.
Yeah.
Just like not an interest in the character at all.
They saw what the power set was, and that was all they saw. That's all they saw. They didn't see the character there.
I do want to stay on this comic. I did want to just
comment. No, this is a fun
only because it's the Thanos thing.
Yeah.
When we were having that comic discussion, we specifically talk about I think it's Thanos Rising, where these witches of eternity, they try and put him in like his punishment trial, and his punishment trial is like, what if you were good? And like the leader of the Avengers.
That's the Jeff Lemire run.
Yes, and Thanos is thank you. It's the Jeff Lemire run. And Thanos is like
the God Quarry.
And Thanos is like, this is my punishment, this is my trial.
Being an Avenger?
And he kills Sam Wilson in that vision, like immediately. And he's like, I have always known what I am, and I do not give a shit about this. And like that coupled with one of the other moments from Infinity Gauntlet, which is like, you always lose because you know you don't deserve to win.
Yeah.
Like those are two of the key things about Thanos. I'm like, he's a bad guy. He knows he's a bad guy, like so deeply in his core. And that didn't translate into Infinity War, even though like it's almost worse, right, in the movies, because they play that angle in Infinity War. Like he thinks he's right.
Yeah.
And then also there's like the double-edged thing of like, yeah, but he's also a hypocrite and he's obviously wrong. And then you get like past Thanos, who like brings none of that character thesis to the table.
Just murder man.
In the time that he's there. And so like,
yeah. Anyway,
side tangent about how like I like those movies, but
no, I agree.
It is well as a character.
It is the push and pull of being a comics fan, you know, wanting them to respect the source material, but understanding like sometimes things don't translate, but then sometimes they really do. And specifically with characters like Taskmaster, he got the Deadpool treatment in X-Men Origins Wolverine in the movies, and I don't understand why. Why you make your most talkative, fun characters mute is a business decision I will never understand. But anyway, this comic.
I don't understand. I'm sorry. Like,
no,
I don't understand, because like they know that they made a mistake with Deadpool because they spent a decade trying to rectify that mistake. And so for like Taskmaster, I guess they could spend another decade trying to rectify that mistake too. But like, I don't understand why you even decide to go that route when you know that you've already done that and like you've already failed. Like, I don't get. I want the writer of Black Widow. I want Kevin Feige, the writer of Black Widow and the director of Black Widow, to look at me in the face and tell me exactly why this decision was made, because it doesn't make any sense to me.
There's like a 30-second Nate Moore documentary somewhere on YouTube I can find. Where like, this is the reason.
Look, like in theory, I think they were very married to the idea of the daughter of
the bad guy
whose name escapes me.
Dracov's
daughter. They were very married to that idea. And like the thing is, to me, what bothers me about that is that I'm like, you could have done both. Like, just you can just don't do Tony Masters necessarily, like now it's Dracov's
Antonia
daughter, but like still have the personality.
She can still be crazy.
She can still have Taskmaster's personality. She can be all the more traumatized because of what Dracov's done to her, and that makes her more like this character.
Yeah.
Like you didn't have to not have your cake and eat it too in this situation.
And again, I
feel like they felt like, well, if we're going that way, we have to make it a complete diversion.
Yeah, and I guess Black Widow is more of a serious movie too, so maybe they didn't want that.
I think that's also part of it. Is that they. I don't think it is a serious movie.
No, but
I think they thought that it was going to be, because that opening credit sequence really, really plays heavy-handedly with like some serious material. If you guys don't remember, that's all the child trafficking,
Nirvana
that's going on in the opening. That's like the darkest opening we've ever seen in the MCU, and the rest of the movie doesn't fit.
Family.
But I do think, like in a warped way, they thought, well, we don't want the fans to be upset that we didn't do Tony Masters well,
so we just won't,
or faithfully, because now it would be Dracov's daughter. Mm-hmm. So we just should make it totally different anyway. And that means silent, because we're not creative enough to come up with a personality of our own.
And again, I do think they will do a complete like 90-degree switch in Thunderbolts.
Someday.
Thunderbolts, because she's in Thunderbolts. Yeah. I hope so, because again, just having another silent character is just kind of boring, in my opinion. But anyway, this comic, the Rubicon Trigger, I love that this is basically the Mission Impossible 3 Rabbit's Foot. It doesn't. Who cares what it is? It's just a nuclear device Who cares what it is? It doesn't actually matter.
What a great
it's a MacGuffin.
What a great pool.
Absolutely. And again, bringing up Hammer, which is Dark Avengers, Dark Reign. Norbert Osborn is the leader of the world era from over 10 years ago. I love that. There's a secret doomsday device that Norbert Osborn had, and we can't open it, and we need to open it, but we can't because Maria Hill died. So we need to get not just like the identities and like the fingerprints of these 3 other super soldiers. We need the kinesic like biography of how they move.
Also Mission Impossible.
There's a lot of Mission Impossible in this. I love it. But like, you can only get someone like Taskmaster who can mimic someone's movement to get that code. And that is such a interesting idea. It's just a cool spy idea. I love that.
Yeah, there's something about the Rubicon Trigger being this kind of amorphous, we don't know what this is, kind of weapon that Norman Osborn just didn't get the chance to use because of the Siege of Asgard. Like, it's really interesting to see that happen, but also, why is Coulson one of the triggers? He wasn't even created in that era of comics, which I thought was kind of fun.
He could have been that could be just a fun retcon, yeah.
I know, but like that's the kind of thing, like Coulson, because at this point, like Coulson is even Nick Fury is like, we were friends and then Deadpool killed him, and somehow he's alive and I don't know why. And Coulson was created for the MCU and then was brought into the comics way after the Dark Avengers happened. So it's kind of fun to kind of be like, well, this character that we've retconned into this timeline is also part of this. I
don't have a real answer, but I do have a cheeky answer, and it's Secret Wars. So he actually was around kind of like this new universe from the beginning.
Secret Wars did do kind of a reset. It wasn't like a full reset.
He wasn't there from the beginning. He now is kind of like Miles Morales in a way. So it's kind of like a cheat. But that is a good fun thing to think about. I actually didn't think about that. Like, he wasn't even born yet, technically. Yeah. That is funny.
Since we're in that kind of vein, this page in particular, where it's revealed, where Taskmaster's saying, "I made you."
Oh, to Marcus Johnson. I thought your name. You're not Nick Fury. I love that.
Yeah. Is this something that was known before?
No, I don't think so.
Or is this like?
I think this is new.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's really neat.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's funny because, like, contextually, everything in here is just kind of a fun Taskmaster comic with like a lot of like you going for the MacGuffin that doesn't really matter and just kind of having a good time with Taskmaster. And like the one thing that probably has a permanent changing effect is that page, which I think is just so funny that it's just like slapped in there right near the end of like, hey, by the way, Taskmaster kind of responsible for Nick Fury Jr. And you're like, hold on, wait, what?
Taskmaster is incredible because he is a villain, but he has a lot of heroic series throughout his life. After Civil War, there was the 50-state initiative where every state got a superhero team, and there was Avengers Academy where hundreds of people were being trained. Taskmaster was the one training all these kids. Taskmaster has actually trained more heroes than I think a lot of people realize, and I love that. And now he's just off being a supervillain again. I think that's great. He's so good at being a combatant. He fights 3 different types of people in the series, or multiple, but like he fights like a Coulson, he fights Hyperion Superman, he fights Okoye, he fights Amy, I forget her name, but she's from the Chinese
Amy Han.
Amy Han, thank you. White Fox. I fought a Black Fox once. That guy was white. I love that. Did you guys have a favorite fight in this series? Because I think the action in all of these issues are incredible. Vitti is such an incredible, talented artist, specifically when it comes to like kinetic movement.
Yeah,
I think it's great.
You're absolutely right about the art. For me, it's Okoye, and it's not close.
Yeah,
because it's the flirting.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's the "you're magnificent," and he's like, I like that, like, because you're getting his internal monologue. He cares about impressing her.
Yeah,
and like he hasn't cared about like the other people in the fight. Like he genuinely is like, yeah, all right, pretty into Okoye. I hit her with that Batroc kick, and she was like, whatever.
Yeah.
He said there's a line that he says, a spear, that's not very sporting. And Okoye says, one does not treat a hyena like one would a man. Damn.
Like,
damn.
To showcase the art again, but this is just like, it's 16 panels of just fighting. And that happens a couple times in the issues where Vitti just gets really like excel at showing, yo, these people are kicking the shit out of each other.
Yeah. This page is why I agree with Sparks that Okoye's fight is my favorite.
Yeah,
it's the fighting is so good between them. Like, it genuinely, I think she's the most impressive combatant Taskmaster's gone up against in terms of not having his ability, and the fact that she can like match him, and he's like, damn, this is pretty cool. And like, again, like Tony's not a person who will entirely shy away from killing someone, but he has absolutely no desire in his heart to kill Okoye. He just wants her to acknowledge him as like a capable and competent warrior. Which I think is that's really cool. Like, just as a side thing, like I'm all about the Tony Masters and Okoye ship. That will never happen. I'm 100% down for Tony Masters to be like, yeah, I met the right girl once, and like it's back
oh my god,
Okoye fighting.
That's really good.
His ass. And I'm like, that's I'm fine with that. That's good canon shit.
I don't see like Jed MacKay writing another Taskmaster series anytime soon because he's doing like Avengers.
Sure.
But he's the type of guy, because Avengers is such a big book, that the worlds of Wakanda and Taskmaster can form again somehow in Avengers, and I would love to see that meet up again. That is really great. The Hyperion fight I really like a lot because, like, again, what do you do when you have to fight Superman? And you just don't. You have to have a contingency plan. And he waits to the last minute.
When he punches Coulson and he said Hyperion, and he's like, oh no.
That's also what's great about Taskmaster. Like, he has a whole speech of like, you know what separates me from the other guys? I know when to leave.
Yeah.
I know when to count my losses. He's like Thrawn in that way. He's being a coward. He knows when to leave and count his losses.
He has a line. So when he beats, he doesn't beat Black Widow, but he's able to get them knocked out because of a psychic bomb from prior. And he's like, I could do it. I could just kill Black Widow right now. It won't take me that long. And then she just like stirs, like, and he goes, nope, and bails.
yeah. And he's like, where he's questioning, like, what if she wakes up right before I get there? What if she comes back? She died before. What if she comes back? And she starts slowly like, no. I also, to your point, Brandon, I really love when he's in the car with Fury and he's like, yeah, okay, like, who's after me though? And it's like, that's the Black Widow. And he's like, oh god,
I'm gonna die.
Oh, Nick, I'm dead.
Nick,
I'm gonna die.
He calls him Fury, but he's like, he switches to Nick.
Yeah,
I need your help. I can't beat her.
Yeah,
that's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, that initial reaction phase.
Oh yeah.
I love his look too.
The thought ball, or like his like inner terror dialogue, where it's just like, ah, because he does like, I am so screwed.
Yeah,
the fight against Hyperion, where he waits to the last minute to throw like the radiation bomb or whatever to get him. Nick Fury's like, you took a hell of a beating getting up that shot. Why didn't you take it earlier? And Taskmaster's like, I had to make him underestimate me. But I showed him all, and he falls down, nearly dying. And I'm like, bro, you are so tough. Like, not many people will actively try to fight Hyperion. That is really like, one of those punches would have killed him. But he's a tough son of a bitch.
And when he does get Hyperion down on the ground, his internal monologue just starts becoming kill.
His intrusive thought. That's what he's so good, because he's not just like he's not Bullseye like at the beginning of issue 1. Where
fuck Bullseye.
Yeah, fuck Bullseye.
I love him giving him shit on the
because of his outfit and stuff.
Please be here for Bullseye. Please be here for Bullseye.
Yeah. Like he will kill you if he's being paid, but he's not like Bullseye. Bullseye is a psychopath, will kill anyone, he'll kill children and women. Like, that's why it's like, no, like I have a rule. Oh my god, he's so smart. I have a rule. No women, no kids. Because I know about fridging, and that just pisses them off. And I think like
no Nazis. Really no Nazis either.
No Nazis either.
He doesn't work for Nazis. He'll kill Nazis. He won't work for them.
Yeah. Captain America was the one time.
I like it. He was like, I worked for Baron Zemo once, and it sucked. So like, no, I have a no Nazi rule. I do like his monologue when he's swinging into Wakanda, because he's like talking about like, you know what I noticed, if you kill someone's, it feels like they're all just waiting for their wives to get killed to motivate them, and they just come at you harder after that. And so I was just like, I don't know, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna kill your wife. I'm not gonna kill your kid.
He's a smart bad guy. All things considered.
That is one of the things I really like about it, is that like how he points out that people constantly like think he's stupid just because of what he looks like, and he's like, I'm very capable. I am smart. I'm not the smartest, but I'm smart. And I really like because I do think Taskmaster runs that gamut of getting lumped too closely to Deadpool. It even happens as an illusion.
Oh,
of comic
100%.
that, like, you guys are buddy. He's like, I don't know where you got that shit from.
Also, it's funny because he calls him Wade by his first name.
Yeah.
So he knows him enough to call him by his first name.
Yeah.
Because they know each other. They're in the same circles.
But he doesn't.
There
like,
are conventions.
Yeah.
There are conventions. You meet people.
Exactly.
Right. He doesn't like the association by comparison, and like I do think that happens with casual comic readers too.
Oh, yeah.
It's that, like, Taskmaster, it's kind of like Deadpool, like a little grittier in his own direction.
Yeah.
Honestly, not in some ways. It depends.
It depends on the writing.
It depends on the writing. But I think it undermines the like Taskmaster is much more like, bear with me, an adult Peter Parker in the sense of like how he makes light to manage his way through the situations he's in.
Yeah.
It's not so much that he doesn't take things seriously. He takes things very seriously.
Yeah.
It's that's kind of his coping mechanism. I particularly like
the
example of this when he's in Wakanda and the Panther is handing him his mask back and he says, prepare yourself for pain and humiliation. He says, comes with the territory. Let's do this.
Let's do this.
Like that's who he is like, he's like, this I accept because this is a path I've chosen.
Yeah.
This is like, there's so much more pathos.
Yeah. He knows who he
behind
is.
it than there is with like Wade Wilson.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
There's something about the Squadron Supreme I wanted to talk about a little bit. I've been following Squadron Supreme since the Ultimate line. There was a connected Squadron Supreme book to the Ultimates that Sparks was reading as well.
It's a good run.
And when there were times when it would cross over with the Ultimates, but when Ultimate Universe obviously died, there was a moment where they had a Squadron Supreme group, which was Squadron Supreme members from all across the multiverse had come together.
Was that the Guggenheim one?
I think that was the Guggenheim one.
That was like, like the mid, like 2015, 2016, like around that era, right?
Yeah. I think so. I think you're right. So like the Squadron Supreme are really interesting because, I mean, obviously the Justice League amalgamations, but it's really interesting that like it's part of the comic book DNA that they're not sure which Hyperion this is, because there are multiple dimension Hyperions that they've all encountered over the years, and they're just kind of like, I don't know which one this one is. This could be a psychopath. This could be a hero. I don't know.
And what's great about that is, like, I'm sure if Jed MacKay really wanted to, he could trace down which exact Hyperion it is. But it's so much more fun to go, we've dealt with like 8 of these guys. Who knows which fucker this is? I honestly don't know. I don't know. Just good luck.
And that's that's kind of where Avengers was dealing with also, because like, yeah, America has a superhero team as the Squadron Supreme, but nobody knows where the hell they came from.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool. I really like the Squadron Supreme in that way and being used in that way and acknowledging their metaverse, the multiverse history of them. I thought that was nice.
Yeah, and in this specific period, again, this came out like in 2020, so like this version of the Squadron Supreme is kind of like is trying to do what The Boys is kind of doing. Like this is the government run superheroes for America. And I don't think that Squadron Supreme has gone through so many different iterations. That's not what they are anymore right now. I don't know what they are right now.
I don't think they're around right now.
They're waiting for the next relaunch.
I think Heroes Reborn kind of took them off the table.
Yeah. This book though, we've talked about, we've heard Thunderbolts movie rumors for a long time about Hyperion would be in the movie. And now after reading this comic again, I'm like, oh yeah, I could see, all these guys trying to fight Hyperion and seeing how it make it work. I could see that because it is fun. Like, how does a regular dude fight Superman?
Is it Hyperion who they're saying is in Thunderbolts? I thought that was Sentry.
Oh, you're right, Sentry. He's also super powerful. Never mind.
Very strong. Like much to your point, like it's a similar power set and everything.
Oh, I was like, well, we can get power print.
No, I don't think they've announced any Squadron.
No, it is Stephen Yeun is Sentry. You're right. Yeah, you're right. That's true. That's also awesome, fun, cool casting.
Hyperion is a fun Superman character, and I didn't realize how much of a Superman character he was until they pulled out Kryptonite.
Yeah. Radion.
I also don't remember that at all
in
the previous Squadron Supreme stuff, which is why I'm kind of like, is this just for this?
I think
which is fine.
I think it is because again, like this specific Hyperion, we have this one thing that can stop him. So I think it is very much like, we're fighting Superman. Here's Kryptonite. You don't think about it too hard. It is really good. And I do
'Cause
like how
those
like
yeah.
you don't know the end result of the battle because Taskmaster is getting his ass kicked this entire fight, and it isn't revealed to the end like what his like trump card is. And again, he almost waits too long. He almost gets his socks rocked.
Yeah. Ben, I wanted you to jump in because we've been talking in a kind of steamroll way. So jump in.
Yeah. So actually, I was been wanting to talk about my favorite fight, which is actually the fight in Korea, where he finds out who that Amy Han, the director of the Korean superhero team,
Hell yeah.
is White Fox, but mostly just because of how he gets in when his Pym rig gets messed up, and he's just like so mad at Fury. He's like, this piece of crap bootleg, this piece of crap bootleg.
Yes, the plot how he gets there is incredible too. So he finds a bunch of cultists, right? And he says he's giving them superpowers. And then when the police show up, they don't have superpowers. So they round them all up and they put them in jail. Then it turns out that it was actually like what's it called? Like a delayed reaction superhero thing. So Taskmaster actually made them into psychic bombs that go off when they're at the facility. So they explode into radiant light, like the lights are coming out of their eyes like laser beams, and everyone's just having a psychic breakdown except for Taskmaster, who has built-in stuff in his mask. And I'm like, oh yeah, hell yeah, spy stuff. Love it.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It's he says stupid bootleg Pym rig, as you hear the beeping of his rig getting ready to.
And they're looking around. Where's that
he's
beeping
just
coming
like
from?
he's just like chilling in the air, and then beep, beep, beep. It's like what I want to say about the art is that even with Taskmaster, because his mask is a skull, it's not as expressive as you think, but it's very Skeletor expressive.
Somebody calls him Skeletor in this too.
Oh yeah, and it's not just the eyes are very. The artist does amazing things with the eyes. Like they emote very well, and even with the bone structure of the skull, like you can tell like when he's happy and sad or he's panicked. Even just that scene where he's in the air vent and it goes, you can tell his eyes just like jolt open. It's like, oh shit.
More even to that point, Ben. While technically the mask won't change, the artist will craft the shadows around to match a expression. So if he's supposed to be grinning very broad, the lighting will make it look like his mouth is curling up, even though the mask isn't changing. Or if he's supposed to be more serious, it'll shade away the curve, so it looks like the mouth is more slanted down, even though the mask is again staying the same. It's a really good use of shadow. This happens in particular when he's talking with Nick in the car about his history. They make the mouth, by shading and lighting more than anything, look more serious. And then in the very last page when he's walking away, they really use the light and shadow to make it look like that mouth is curling up.
Oh yeah,
it's beautiful stuff.
I want to highlight real quickly, Ben, in the fight that you're talking about, just real quickly, that punch I saw one time, that kick Iron Fist uses, that throw that Cap used to toss me out a window, that stomp I saw Shang-Chi do. Just very good. Just very.
I kind of wish sometimes that Taskmaster, like, that it wasn't just internal monologue, but he was like out there just going, Captain America kick.
Yeah.
Shang-Chi.
It isn't. It's not a negative on this book, but one thing that the previous 10 years ago Taskmaster book did is when it is referencing those moves, there's another drawing like superimposed on top of Iron Fist doing the punch with Tony. So you see exactly what's happening as it's happening, and that's just a really good visual motif, but it's not necessary for the book.
What I kind of like about this book, and really the first time I actually had a lot of stuff with Taskmaster, funny enough, was from Marvel vs. Capcom 3, because he's a playable character in it. And when you play as him and fight as him, he'll say just like Cap, just like Hawkeye, where he's like talking about all the characters he's mimicking. And especially when we talked about that page when he's fighting in Korea, like the punch I saw that one time, it felt very much like a scene from MVC3, and one, I enjoyed it because I love that game, but also it's just I really liked it. I thought it was more humorous than seeing the superimposed shadow of the hero or the character that he's mimicking. And I don't know why.
It's funnier. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought it was just more funnier that when he's like where he's thinking about all these other moves. But one other thing I want to praise this book for is the MacGuffin and how yes, it is a driving force. Like the whole thing is, hey, here's this thing called the Rubicon trigger, but but also the main plot is we need to find out what happened to Maria Hill. I like that, even though when the Rubicon trigger is finally like revealed, or it's like, oh, this is what the Rubicon trigger is, this is what it does. I wasn't mad that it didn't play bigger into the story, because I was
Sure.
actually caring more about how is Taskmaster going to get the abilities of these three very different people throughout the
Yes.
world. How is he going to pull off essentially a movement heist in a sense? And then when it's finally revealed and he just does his thing, it's just like, this is actually a really great ending. I really enjoyed it.
Two things about that. When Ryan made the comp earlier to the Mission Impossible 3 Rabbit Foot, I thought that was so apt to what this is. And also, I wanted to bring up that when we did that, I did not realize how many people hate that.
Oh, really?
In Mission Impossible.
Oh, they
3.
need
a
them.
lot of
They
people
need an
because a
answer.
lot of people were revisiting the Mission Impossible films for Dead Reckoning,
Yeah.
and a lot of people apparently hate that. It's just like, yeah, who knows what it does, and they're like, God, that sucks, and I'm like, why does it matter? It's not it's never what the story's about. The story's just about stopping the thing. It doesn't matter what the thing does.
Oh, it's a bomb. How
It's
many
just-
bombs
it's
have we
just about-
blown up?
It's just about stopping the thing. Like
Yeah.
the story's supposed to be about what's happening on the way. I think the only exception to that is the recent Mission Impossible, where like part of the thing they're trying to stop is also actively the antagonist. So like that's different. But
Yeah.
but in all the previous ones, like who gives a shit? And just to your point, Ben, like, yeah, that's why the characterization and the stuff and the journey along the way is more important than the destination in that kind of regard. And then real quick, Brandon, the other thing I was going to say about it is that it almost threw me off my Maria Hill is behind all this theory when I got to the 5th issue, because the cover for the 5th issue puts Osborn there.
Yeah.
Like he's in the comic, which he isn't. He's
No.
just referenced. And so I was ready for like, oh shit,
Secret
Osborn is somehow
reveal.
behind this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why would they reveal that on the cover? And I'm like, I guess I was wrong about Maria Hill. And then I get into the comic and I'm like, oh no, you piece of shit, you got me.
I'm pretty sure they reference what Norman Osborn currently is doing.
Yes,
'Cause, like,
Amazing Spider-Man 50, he had a change of heart.
yeah, so yeah, he had his sins eaten, so now he's just a regular dude. Now he's the Gold Goblin superhero, but this is in the future.
Oh, you mean like when Lex Luthor became Superman?
True.
Well, he won't
Right.
be the Gold Goblin for another 3 years at this point.
Yeah, at this point, yeah.
But I wanted to mention something about the, because we don't know what the Rubicon trigger is. Ryan is absolutely correct. It's very similar to the Rabbit's Foot from Mission Impossible 3. The thing that is important for people to remember that I think people forgot when it came to I think the Indiana Jones franchise actually is partially to blame. Which is that Alfred Hitchcock always said the MacGuffin is something that doesn't matter. It's what the characters need to get. Doesn't matter at all. It's some bullshit that the characters need to get and that sends them on the story. I think people's perception of the Indiana Jones franchise kind of made people think that the MacGuffins were really important and you need to know what they are because that's what is driving the story. That's not necessarily the case. And that's not even what Indiana Jones tries to do. It's just kind of what people's perception of what those films became. So I really like that the Rubicon trigger is that we don't know what this thing is, what it's going to do, because that doesn't matter. That's not what the story is.
Can I this is fun and it has nothing to do with the book, but what you just said, I think Indiana Jones is just different, and like it has to be, because contextually the best parts of the Indiana Jones films, and I'll say all of them, the best parts of all of them, the thing they're after and how they get it and like the clues along the way are also important to the characters' development stories. I don't know if that's really that true with Raiders, but it is true with the rest. Like Raiders is really just like, what would you do with this power kind of thing, and like that's about the extent of it. But like really specifically think of The Last Crusade. Like that is so much about saying things about how they think about where they're at in their lives and what it means to chase glory and to achieve glory and what it means to live a righteous life, are both things that because the context of the Grail are the things that both Indiana and his father are thinking about as the movie is going, and like it's informing on the characters to do that. So in that context, like yes, it's important to know what the thing is and like know things about it. But when we're talking about like the spy movies and the Mission Impossibles and things like that, it's like, no, that's not the same. That's not the same like inform on the character kind of
I think
thing.
like adventure.
That's where
adventure.
That's where this works.
Yeah. I think like to your point, Brandon, like adventure works better for MacGuffins as opposed to just like, oh, another bomb. Because like spy stuff, it's generally the same 3 different like bad ideas, whereas like an adventure could be so many different ideas usually. You know, like at the end of the day, in spy movies, the bad guys want to kill people or blow something up.
Even
right?
even like this is really broad, but like and like not a movie that we love everything about, but like look at Prometheus. Like what they're chasing is the origin of humanity. And like we have to learn all the pieces along the way, but like how they feel about that, why that affects them as they're learning the pieces that they are, and how that reflects in each different character, what their actual pursuit is in doing it matters. And like when we get to spy movies and this kind of thing, like the Rubicon Trigger, like that shit isn't important. It doesn't inform on characters again, except for the recent Mission Impossible, where like that is more of a contextual conversation about like what that means for the characters in the world that they live in.
But to bring it back to this comic, I want to go back to what Ben was talking about, which, and I think we're all in agreement that it kind of rules that at the end of this book, Taskmaster activates the Rubicon Trigger and just leaves.
Yes.
so good.
And it ends with like the heroes are gonna win. They're gonna defuse it. Like I'm not worried about it.
He's like they'll figure it out.
But I had to let them know, don't fuck with me.
Yeah.
Don't treat me with disrespect. I am not a D-list guy.
Because that's what was really nice about this final issue, because Maria Hill is basically talking about like, oh, I need to fake my death so that you would take Taskmaster, because Taskmaster and Taskmaster's like looking at this like, oh, I was played. Like he's looking at this whole he's just thinking to himself, oh, I was played. And then at the end of this, he does fine. I'll strut my stuff. I'll do this. I'm cowardly. I'm spiteful. I'm bullying Taskmaster. Gets played for a chump. I am a coward and I am spiteful and I am a bully. But I'm nobody's chump. No, I'm a bastard. And he activates the Rubicon Trigger and just bails. And I really like the final page is awesome. I think this is a really cool page.
From potentially
Can you bring it in a little bit more, Brandon?
Yeah, there you go.
That's so Ben, what I was referring to, the closest version of him, that's that shading with that grin. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, he says, relax, they'll save the day, they always do, but it's about time that they remembered who they're dealing with. Need a bastard? Call Taskmaster.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know, Taskmaster, he will generally never be like the big bad in a comic, and like he doesn't need to be. That's not who he is. No. He's a dude who loves a good paycheck. He loves messing around. He doesn't want to work for the absolute worst people because like he has morals. He does have morals. Like again, he's not Bullseye. He looks way better than Bullseye. Also, again, this comic starts with a golf tournament, and like he's working for a mafia golf fight. I'm like, that is an incredible idea.
And he's insulting his outfit. He's like, excuse me, this outfit is award-winning, best skull costume 3 years running. I beat out the Red Skull. Wait, I want you to think about that. I beat the Red Skull. I think that's really good.
Yeah.
And then when he's fleeing from who we learn later is Black Widow, and he gets the call from Fury, but we don't know that's who it is yet. And he's like, hello, potential customer. I appreciate your concern, but I can handle it.
And again, every time the Dolly Parton working 9 to 5 ringtone plays.
Oh, much to your point, like there was a point earlier where they flashed.
They did do it.
They flashed Ghost Rider over him when he's driving the. When he's driving the golf cart. To reference that's what he's channeling. I thought that was pretty good. So it does happen.
He goes on a road trip with Nick Fury, and he wakes up abruptly. And Nick's like, "We're in Connecticut. Wanted to put a state line between us and the Widow. Besides, nothing like more than a road trip with sleep apnea Skeletor."
That is a medical condition.
It's a medical condition.
Do you hear me making fun of your eye? And he's like, despite all your shortcomings, Taskmaster, no, you haven't done that. He's like, yeah, exactly.
Listen, he respects the disabled. Okay. I think this is just a great character.
Real quick. It's honestly one of my favorite pages in the whole comic is when the Widow finally catches up to him and turns over the car and everything. And she's like, all this time you've been wearing that ridiculous skull. Now it's finally appropriate. She's getting ready to kill him. He's like, yeah, well, everyone's a critic as he hits the eject button and pushes out of the vehicle. And she's like, you piece of shit.
He's always in danger getting hurt. When he halo drops into Wakanda, he like tumbles and falls. Like I love it. He's just like he's such a wonderful dude. Like it's one of the things where like, you know, I got lucky, you know, like one of my favorite characters is Iron Man and he is the face of the MCU. So I lucked out. But like smaller characters like don't get this kind of love, and specifically like Taskmaster, like, yo, he's so good. He could have like a Disney Plus miniseries, and I followed adventures of this dude just doing random shit. Like he is so good. And one day, hopefully, he'll get the love that he deserves.
Real quick, the one other note I'll make is that I really appreciate when Nick Fury is like, relax. I know you didn't kill Maria Hill. I knew at the moment that you sat down in that seat because you wouldn't have been stupid enough to do that.
Yeah.
If you had.
Yeah. Marcus Johnson. I love, again, like, the Nick Fury trajectory has been so interesting because you have, OG Nick Fury and then Sam Jackson in the Ultimate Universe. And then that kind of became, they brought him into the new universe, but they didn't make him his son until a little bit later. And now he's Nick Fury Jr. He's Marcus Johnson. But like the fact that like, if you've never read a lot of comics, then like this gives you a pretty good estimation of who this character is. And like, yo, you are Nick Fury Jr., but I know who you really are, bro. Like I trained you. I think that's spicy.
It's always so interesting to see when they acknowledge the fact, because there was a while when Nick Fury was not the man on the wall. He took the Watcher's place after Original Sin.
Yes.
Where they
Bucky
just wouldn't.
was the man on the wall.
Bucky was the man on the wall, and they wouldn't. They just wouldn't acknowledge that Nick Fury Jr. was A, Junior, or B, Marcus Johnson.
He just kind of replaced him.
Yeah, that was just kind of like Nick Fury now. This is just Nick Fury now. So it's always kind of interesting when they go back to be like, no, remember, this isn't actually the original Nick Fury. This is the replacement.
And I have no problem having this guy around. I just don't like throw away that other character. Like, because that other character is incredibly cool too.
Right.
Where is he now? Is he still on the moon?
No, I'll have to look it up, but I don't think he's doing that anymore. I think he's
I don't think so either. I think the Watcher's back now.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. All right, well, comics are weird.
Yeah. Well, that was the Rubicon Trigger. Thank you guys for reading it. I'm glad you guys had a great time. Taskmaster, one of my faves. Hope he shows up all the time, beating the shit out of people. Yep.
It's my turn next week, but I don't know what I want to pick.
Ooh, we'll find out soon.
So I'll let you guys know. I apologize. I just have had it's been a crazy month for me.
Sure, it's okay.
So I'll let you guys know, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks to read that.
Woohoo!
All right, guys, that'll do it.
That'll do her.
That'll do it,
guys. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. Be sure to check out some more of our book clubs. There's plenty of archive stuff coming. Sparks is very kind enough to put up many of our archived book clubs that you guys can revisit or visit for the first time, should you want. And yeah, okay. So of course, guys, there's plenty of other things you can check out if you want to. So go to fichtnerpodcast.com. You can check out all sorts of shows. There's a few shows that are being impacted due to the strikes. There's the ongoing strikes for SAG-AFTRA. Obviously, the WGA strike is over now, but SAG-AFTRA is still asking for the boycott. So just go online, see what those are at fichtnerpodcast.com. That's linked below, and you can also check out our TeePublic and our Patreon, which are also linked below or on our website. There's plenty more book clubs, guys. There's Wasted Space Book Club. There's some Star Trek book clubs that I'm trying to get going. It's a little slower, but I'm doing it. And we will return to Wasted Space. But Wasted Space Volume 4 is out, so check that out. Yeah. All right, guys. So find us on social media as a Fichtner Podcast on Facebook, Fichtner Podcast on all the socials, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And fichtnerguys@gmail.com. I'm at BT McClure on Instagram and Twitter. You can also find me writing for atomicgeekdom.com. Ben, where can people find you?
Oh, they could find me at BenMaga27 on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Threads. You could also find me writing for Old School Gamer Magazine, Fusion Gaming Magazine, go to Nintendo.com, and playing Mary Frankenstein on D & Dark.
Sparks.
If you want to see Ben getting spooked in some games, go check out Spooktober Gaming. I highly encourage it. You can find me at SparksWitty on Instagram and Twitter, SPARKZ Witty. Go check out Basement Arcade. There's so much.
Right. There's a lot of Basement Arcade, actually. 3 episodes are coming out in the next couple days at the time of this recording. Ryan, where can people find you?
I was joking when I said make Tony Master's name Antonia, because that's what her name was in the movie. Her name was Antonia Dreykov. You could find me hoping for a rehabilitation of Antonia Dreykov in Thunderbolts at DJ Tony Snark all over the internet.
All right, guys. Until next time you see us, like this video, subscribe to this channel, rate and review on all the socials. Until next time we see you, stay fake nerds.